Hi guys, I'm Uncle Richie.
Yo, what up? JMoney's back.
And this is C10. And you're listening to the Unkles podcast.
And we're back, season 2, episode 5. We have a very special guest on today's episode. His cricket style mirrors the essence of PNG cricket, hardworking and resilient. His bowling style reflects blue-collar work ethic, very economical, bowls a good line and length, making him a key member of the squad. Born in Port Moresby to a Kiwi father and a Papuan mother, played a key role in the under-19s tournament for the Barramundis back in 2012, and then debuted for the national side in 2015 against Netherlands. Lovely to have you on the show, Chad.
Thanks, bro. It's good to be here. Let's go.
Bro, well, wanted to start off before we go into the episode a bit, and just wanted to know a little bit about yourself and obviously touch base on your PNG connection. Did you grow up there, and where is your mum from?
Yeah, so I was born in Port Moresby, born in a little private hospital near Mini Park, down there where we train. So
Yeah.
I drive past it every time I go to training with the boys, which is awesome.
Good memories.
Yeah, great memories. But yeah, no, I was born there, and I lived there for probably 2 years.
Yeah.
Obviously as a baby, but my mum's from Milne Bay, mixed Daru. So
okay.
both sides of the spectrum. Location in PNG, but and my father's from Hamilton, New Zealand.
Yeah. Fuck. So you were in PNG for 2 years before moving down to Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how, obviously you came here at a young age and you've represented PNG to cricket. What's sort of been the biggest thing for yourself to stay connected to that PNG culture, and I guess to an extent your Maori culture? How have you gone about staying connected to those two things?
It was very easy growing up. I grew up around a lot of aunties down Central Coast in Sydney down there. So yeah, no, I've grown up around it. I've got a big connection. My mum is typical PNG mother, knows everyone and remembers everyone and links everyone up. So we used to have a lot of PNG parties growing up, and so we'd always gather around, and I was always around it. So I was very lucky that way, and I always wanted to connect back home.
Yeah.
Even on my Kiwi side as well, with my boo-boo, my grandfather on my dad's side. He taught me a lot about the New Zealand and the Maori culture and the All Blacks. I've learnt the haka from a young age, so I was that kid growing up doing the haka in front of the TV when the All Blacks would play. So, and the boys will know that I'm a diehard All Black supporter too. So yeah, I do follow a lot of the rugby too.
Were you a little bit devastated when they lost to? Not a little bit.
Don't
big.
It's still too soon.
Yeah, too soon. Even though it's been 5-6 months,
It's still too soon, man.
And then I guess touching briefly about your life outside of playing cricket, you play professionally, I guess, through the weekends, and you train rigorously through a couple of sessions a week, I guess. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you like to do for yourself to stay, keep yourself, I guess, balanced off the field and on the field as well?
Yeah, so luckily I get in the ocean a lot. Living near the coast there on the Sunshine Coast at the moment, and growing up on the Central Coast down in New South Wales, so always around the beach. So I use that as my space, get away. And I'm really heavily into bodyboarding. I grew up in a culture where a lot of my mates from school bodyboarded or surfed, so I was always in the ocean. That was my outlet. Grew up playing rugby too, so a lot of rugby, cricket, touch, Oztag, all that. So always around sport, but now I think lately as I've gotten older, I make sure I get into my coffee and sitting at cafes and relaxing.
The finer things.
The finer things, man. No wine, but coffee.
Yes. You mentioned sport was a big part of your childhood and upbringing. Was cricket something that you always wanted to play or professionally?
Yeah, I think my dad pushed me that way. Yeah, dad for sure. So dad was a rugby. He grew up playing in Cronulla, in Australia, and playing rugby there. So he was big on rugby league, and I'm an avid Cronulla Sharks supporter.
Yes.
So it was either going to be one or the other, so I was always playing. I played a lot of both growing up. I was pretty good at both, to be honest. Had to make a decision when I got to the end of high school which way I was going to go. And fortunately or unfortunately, I had a shoulder reconstruction, and then the doctor told me, he said, you have to choose which one do you want to do, because it will depend on the operation. So growing up playing cricket, I always loved the game.
Yeah.
Grew up in an era where cricket in Australia was huge. With Shane Warne and all those guys. So that was always my influence.
Yeah.
And then it was a pretty easy decision for me to go towards cricket. But it started in the backyard with my pups. So pups would always roll me the cricket ball.
Yeah.
Apparently when I was like 3 or 4, I'd pick up a cricket bat and my dad said, okay, like
Good hand-eye coordination.
he's like that's his thing. Okay, all good. So it started there. Really. Yeah.
And you mentioned like cricket was pretty big when you were growing up in like early 2000s and then up 2006, 7. Who was your role model for cricket growing up?
Oh, Andrew Simons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Andrew Simons, man, die hard. Like I was, and like to a point where I started wearing zinc, like because the only dark skinned guy in the Aussie team, so he was like big influence. So I started wearing zinc. I used to. He was an all rounder too. So I grew up wanting to be the best fielder, wanting to be like bowling and batting. So I was an all rounder growing up, like in that era. And just having that, I think I think we can all relate. Having that dark skinned guy in the team, we didn't have many on TV growing up, but when I saw that was the guy. He was the man. Rest in peace for that. That poor guy, but him and then Ross Taylor from New Zealand, because I obviously follow both teams. It's cheating, I follow the Aussies and the Kiwis. So Ross Taylor was like my other one as a batsman, and I was very fortunate enough to get to know him because he came and coached us for a tour. A PNG team, and man, he's the man, and I used to just love watching him. And same sort of thing, his Samoan background came through, and I just looked up to those kind of guys because they're mixing it against the best.
Yes.
So, I had that big influence of those boys.
Yeah, and I love how New Zealand, with like a small population of I guess 6 or 7 million there, number 1 team in world rugby, and like pushing it against the top teams they even won the Test championships before, like 2 years ago. Yeah, first team. So really good that such a small nation's pumping above their weight.
Oh, bro. Even in like rugby too, they're sevens, like they're
sevens.
I mean, the women, like they're the best.
Yeah. Or even league, like they beat the Aussies. True. Yeah. I guess going back a little bit, when you first, so under 19s tournament with the ICC World Cup, you got a call up. What was that experience like? Because that would have been surreal to have an opportunity to represent PNG.
It was crazy, bro.
Yeah.
My dad reached out to. That's how it all started. He just sort of he noticed that they were in the 19s World Cup. That they qualified. And then he reached out to Cricket PNG and sort of said, like, what's the eligibility? It's hard to say on the run, but I said that pretty well then.
Yeah.
Bro, don't tell me to spell it. But he said, like, what's, how does my son qualify? And they said, well, I was born there. So they said if he comes over and does a certain amount of days, he'd actually qualify to play for PNG. Yeah. So I did a 2-month trip, and it was my first time to actually go back to PNG. Yeah. And I was 19, 20. Yeah. First time to go back and actually experience, and that was like an eye-opener, man, like proper like culture shock in a way, because I was looking around and meeting guys and listening to people speak the language that I'd heard growing up, because my mum obviously spoke Motu growing up and taught me what I know now, but like hearing the music too that the boys were playing and things, and recognizing the music and going, oh wow, like this is awesome, really, like I had the best time. And then when I got on the plane to go back, I actually really felt like, I already felt homesick and felt like, no, this is where I need to be and belong. So I did a 2-month trip, and then the World Cup was here in Brisbane and Townsville, and I got picked in that, lucky enough to get picked in that team, and then we played the tournament here in Brisbane, and like even meeting the boys, man, like meeting some of the guys, like they're playing now still, and we're really close mates, like CJ Amini, and finding out that his father and my mother were like schoolmates, like classmates, and then like my mum being able to know the way my mum is, she's like photographic memory. So she like was able to name all the parents of all the players in the team that I was playing with. So like it made it even more closer. I was able to relate to the boys and get to know them even better on a closer level. So it was cool. Like it was such a fun team. We look back and half that, like there's probably 6 of those boys still playing in the Barramundis team now. So. Yeah, that team was the Garramuts. The 19th team was called the Garramuts.
Obviously, sorry, my bad there.
You're right, bro.
Yeah. And then when you went to PNG to sort of spend a couple of months there, was that the first time you had been back since coming here when you were 2?
Yes. Stayed in Hohola. Yeah, with my auntie.
Bro,
Hawks,
yeah.
And
Gabu. Yes, bro.
well, mum like.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's a lot of Gulf people.
Yes.
Yeah. So
okay.
my on my mom's side, Hawks 2, Hola 2. Sorry, that's where her family is.
Yeah.
So and I used to stay at Tokara, which is the where my mum and dad lived, but because we had a lot of cousins, like PNG culture, so many people in extended families that you become close with.
Exactly.
So
right.
we just play at Holland, where that field is, where we just play touch there every day.
Yeah, well, the house I stayed is across the road there, so it's like the same thing. Like I stayed in my auntie's house, who's extended family that my mum and my dad actually, when they started dating, they used to, that's the house they would stay at. Like, and I stayed there. It was pretty powerful, man. Like, because I'd walk the streets with my auntie, and auntie would like introduce me as Jane's, Jane Natagu, like. And I was like, and then all these people would smile and think of talk about my mum and my uncles and stuff. And there's and I was like, this is the first time I've been back. So I didn't know these people, but they all remembered my family, and which was awesome, man. Like I had the best time. And they talked about my white father, my light skinned father, walking around chewing bull everywhere.
Bro, wrong, man.
Like you walk around like one, like a local boy, So it's funny, man. It was such a great experience. I had the best time, man. Honestly.
And did your mom and dad, your dad must have, obviously grew up in New Zealand and he went to PNG, worked there, and then that's how, they met.
That's how they met. Yeah. So dad worked, he took a 2-year contract. So he grew up in New Zealand, came and lived in Australia, grew up in sort of Cronulla way when he was a bit older. Yeah. Played a lot of rugby and stuff. And then when his footy career ended, he got a job at Westpac as a bank teller, and then got, for some reason, he just said I just wanted to get away from Sydney, and then signed a 2-year contract Westpac up in Palm, and then met my mum's sister and worked with my mum's sister, and that's how they met. Yeah, he used to go they had expats on the little block compound or whatever, and they said they used to have some crazy parties, but that's when he met my mum up there. So.
Talking about Westpac, I don't know if there's a branch in PNG anymore. They must have shipped up all their...
I think ANZ now.
ANZ now, yeah. It's ANZ, Kina Bank, and then BSB. Westbank's gone, bro. So, that memory for your folks...
Bro, I still can't get over the lines for the ATM on payday on Thursdays, man. It's a 3-hour job, man.
But yeah, I think on when you kind of lived in PNG and then come here, because I came here when I was 10 and Richard when he was 13, so for you to come here at a very young age and then go back there and see what it's like, it's a big part of, I guess, when we have kids here too as well, and when we start our family eventually one day, having that connection to PNG is such a, it's a big thing because that's our identity and what's connected us to the land and things like that. So I think it's so good for you to kind of go back and see that experience and see what it's like.
100%. Yeah. I've got to find a wife first to have some kids. So I don't know where you're going with that one, bro. But I do agree. 100%. Even my sister has a baby, and my little niece. I just actually want to take her back and just meet our family back home. I haven't even travelled to Milne Bay. So we're from Samurai. So
but I went to Otago last
really?
year. Yeah.
So I still haven't been. So for me, that's one of my bucket list things. I want to go back and I want to go experience proper outside. So.
Oh, bro, that's good. Well, now I guess the next part of this podcast, I just wanted to touch a little bit about your cricketing career and ask you a little bit about that. So after the under-19s tournament, and you had a really good successful one, got 5 wickets against India, who ended up winning the tournament. And then I think a couple of years later, 2015, you went on a tour with the men's Barramundis team to go to Netherlands and then debuted there. What was that experience like? And obviously getting the call up. To play for a team that you obviously idolized after spending that couple of years, months back in PNG.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, I loved it. I was involved with the team when they'd come to Australia and I'd do little camps. Yeah, I was in and around the team. I knew all the boys and everything. And then I had a good season in Sydney at the time, playing grade cricket in Sydney. And it's when they're not playing for New South Wales, they'll play the Premier cricket, and I was playing that from sort of 16, 17 onwards, and I was playing at a good level. Yeah. And then I had a good season, and that's I remember getting the phone call from the coach at the time, Deepak Patel, He's an ex-Kiwi, player as well. And I was like, man, he's like, this is Deepak Patel on the phone. Yeah. Deepak Patel. Like, for me, I'm like a bit of a cricket nerd, so I was like, I knew exactly who he was, and I was like, man, like, what's going on? He goes, mate, we're going to go, how does going to a tour of Europe, have you ever been to Europe before? And I was like, no, like, why? What's going on? He said, we got the World Cup qualifiers in 2015, and, we got a chance to make our first World Cup. Yeah. You've been selected, mate. Like, would you be keen to come? And like, what's what's your work situation like? We've been following your progress in Sydney. You've been doing really well. And then I managed to get selected on that tour. So I went and he said, like, you're in the squad. Yeah. Squad of like, I think 18 boys. Yeah. We went. And we went to the Netherlands first, and then that was the prelim, like going into the World Cup qualifiers. It was like our first tour sort of thing before that. It's like a 2.5 month tour of Europe. We went to like England, we went to Ireland, played in Ireland obviously, but Netherlands was the first stop, and bro, what an experience! Like, what a beautiful place, beautiful people, and then like got my chance to play against the Netherlands and debut. Got to go. We had to wait. It was like an 8-hour wait, bro. Like. No darkness at that time of the year, so you could, like, if it rained, you could wait.
It was their summer then, their sun starts to
I don't think I saw the moon for 2 months, man. So yeah, I remember just like it rained, so there was a delay. You can't start when it rains, so we had to wait around for like nearly six hours, and they're like, don't worry, we'll check the field in like 4 hours. So everyone just chill out. So we were chilling out, so I'm like waiting to make my debut, and I'm waiting, and then I finally got on the field, and the first wicket I got, like, I actually got my mate from who I grew up playing in Sydney.
Oh, bro, that would have been good.
He's like Benny Cooper, and I remind him every time about it. But he was my first wicket for PNG, and
what team was he?
He was playing for Netherlands. Yeah. So like we actually grew up playing for our areas in New South Wales. Yeah. Like country cricket carnivals and things. So like I'd known him for like a while. Yeah. And so I was pretty close with him and his family. And then like he happened to be my first wicket. And he's a gun, bro. He's a gun. He's a good player. But I was just stoked to get a wicket. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, man, I was so nervous all day waiting to play. And then when I gave him my first baggy black cap, we got the coolest baggy caps, bro. Like.
Because it's like a bill or what is it like?
It's a specific cap for cricket, but our PNG one is like our PNG colours, red, yellow, and then black, obviously black cap. But it's like a bumblebee design, like it's circled, and it's cool. And then you get your number on the back, So like I was waiting for I was wondering what number I was ever going to get, And then I was biding my time, and I remember seeing all the boys like outside of them, and they're like 99, like 97, and things. I'm like, wow, I wonder what mine's going to be, and 112. So I got
yes, sir.
And that's like my it's a personal thing.
Is,
and I just remember the first running out and just being like, man, I'm playing an international game. Like, this is cool. Like the 90s one was awesome. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but it gets lost in not like these days where it's all streamed and you can watch all the games. Yes. No one watched our games. Like no one knew that we were playing Pakistan or India. No one knew. Like unless they were there at the ground. Yeah. Whereas the national team was like, okay, cool, let's go. So it was good.
And apart from debuting, what's been your most memorable cricketing moment?
I think the first game I played in POM at a mini park, we played Kenya. And that was my first game, and I actually took a 5-wicket game, a 5-wicket haul in that game, and that meant a lot. Like I remember like running out and playing, and the place was packed. Like I've never seen it that packed before again, because the way they set it up and the way they promoted it and everything for that series we played, man, that was fire. Like I actually was tearing up in the anthems. Yeah. And just thinking about my mother. Every time I play, I think about my mum anyway. But, man, that game was hectic. And then, like, turning around and seeing my cousins that I was living with, the extended family at Hawks crowd was, like, in one whole quadrant. And all my nieces and nephews had signs. Oh, bro, like, that was, like, pulled on my heart. And then the cool part was we won that one. And then would have been the next year. Yeah. Or the next game. Mum and Dad flew over. And then that game as well, because I met my uncle for the first time, my mum's actual brother, and I hadn't met him before. Yeah. And like being able to we did a lap of the ground, and I walked around. And for my mum, she hadn't been back since they had me. She hadn't been back to POM. She has been a few times now, but That was her first time back, and then to see her brother too, and I remember walking around the side and we're saying like hugging all the families that come, because that's the best thing, you know. PNG crowd is like the support, you know, like
any sport
best. And when we got the final wicket, man, we were running, but the crowd was going off, and I just remember like running to my parents and then seeing my uncle and like and knowing her, I was like, that's my uncle, like that's my uncle Arthur, like, you know, I just gave him this big hug, man. Those are memorable moments, man. Like, it's like we made the World Cup. I remember running out in the World Cup, you know, 2021, and that was our first ever game or whatever. But man, like that game sticks more out to me because it was our first game at home. Home series win, and like, man, it was one of the best wins, and just to be able to contribute to the team meant a lot to me. So
wow, thanks for sharing that.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. even I'm just like vicariously living through your experience.
Special, bro.
I had a quick question just around back to the Europe tour, and I mean, you Barras have been sort of like almost all over the world now. You know, West Indies coming up, and you know all the other boys, like, you know, they're all village boys.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to get your, like, what was your experience like with them when, say, for example, they were in Europe? Because, bro, they would have been funny as like, it was their first time.
I'll try and because I know we're on a podcast, so. But bro, like, so when we went to the Netherlands, like, so, you know, obviously the illicit substances. I'm trying to word this right. Illicit substances are like legal over there, you know. So, and I'll never forget. We walked out of the terminal. Like, we've just gone through customs, walked through, and the guy in front, he just started smoking a substance that, you know, like, you know what it is, and it's legal over there. But man, like, I turn around, the boys are like looking at me like we can't, and like they're like the faces, man, like, but even like the part where one of them was like, well, we can't bring Buayo. I lost it. It was so funny. But even like, so, you know, there's an area in you know Amsterdam, you know, that when you walk through, and it's pretty renowned, you know. Yeah. So like our Aussie physio at the time, he's based here in Brisbane. He's from Spring Hill, and this clown, man, like, he's a funny guy, Lapun, so a bit older, you know. He knew what was going on, so he walked us through the town, and we walked through that area, and like, obviously none of us had been there. These boys, we walked through, and then they start seeing like these beautiful women in these windows, you know. Okay, so you can kind of work out where I'm going with this. And we walk in, and we turn around, and like the boys are like dead stopped, like in front of the window, like, because they're trying to signal you to come in, you know. And these boys are like sitting there, like, and they're like, I look around, and like some of the boys, we had to like drag them away because they're like had no idea what was happening, you know. Funny, so funny. And like, but like, you know, we were getting strange looks. So we'd go to Ireland, and it's cold, and we're walking through the malls there. We're walking through, and you know, like thongs and slippers or whatever. Boys are walking through slippers, and then we're getting like weird looks from people like, how can you wear thongs? It's like 6 degrees outside. But like, you know, it's footwear. It's our footwear. Like, when we're not wearing shoes, we're wearing thongs, you know. So boys are walking through the malls with slippers, and we're all getting like weird looks at, like, you know. So it's this culture, but it's been like from when I started to where it is now. The boys, like, a lot of the time the boys would save their allowance money, and you know, because obviously it's a lot of money you get as an allowance. You know, we get a certain allowance on the tour. So a lot of the boys wouldn't leave the hotel. They wouldn't know where to go. We'd go for one spin and walk around the town, but a lot of the boys won't go out and do things. They'd stay at home and save their money, and like we'd buy, like, you know, cook up rice, and boys would bring their tin fish or whatever, and their bully, and you know. So it's that's how it started, and some boys still do it now. Like, we if we're hungry, boys will have their food, you know, their snacks. But when it started, it was like that's the norm. We wouldn't go out and eat. We'd just eat someone would buy rice, and then someone would cook their tin fish, and then snacks, biscuit or whatever. But now it's like boys will go out, like we'll say, like, boys, we found a cafe, or we found like a mall. Let's go for a spin, and we can go and eat at the mall, you know. And now they're more open to. And it's sort of the same squads when I started to where it is now. Which is awesome. Which is like, you know, you can tell their progression. Like, we started going out and doing things. We'll go to the driving range, or you know, like take them outside of the hotel instead of getting cooped up at home, getting homesick. You know, So it's man, the squad's it's such a good bunch of guys, man. It's the best.
I guess speaking on the squad too as well, so what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys as a team, I mean, we know how PNG is with sending funding towards sport and things like that, and like have you guys, because you guys have done well for, like, PNG is not a number one sport, and the rugby league gets a lot of the attention there, and with cricket, like, what are some challenges you guys faced and like have overcome, I guess, since your time in the team?
I think obviously funding, but I think like some of the hotels we've stayed at, some of the like waiting for flights or having like not enough allowance for baggage on flights and not being told that, and bookings and things like that. So that's obviously some of the, we don't get to fly first class or business class and have freaking flyer points that, like, well, we can go to the lounge and sit at like, so you see all, the top teams getting to do. So we just make do with simple things. So, and I think coming from a perspective of seeing a lot of my guys that I've grown up playing with and against here in Australia, living the life that they get to live, and then being actually going, no, well, that's okay. That's, that's okay. We just, I'm seeing my teammates, being happy with what they have, and being happy with what they have has taught me a lot as a person as well, to be, thankful. Yeah. But even like, like I think going on tours and, understanding that, we have to win. These are diehard games. We don't get practice games as much as because of funding. You have to pay for umpires. You have to pay for the grounds and hiring the nets and everything. So sometimes we're underprepared when we go to these big tournaments where we actually have to win, and we're going in like underprepared, or we've prepared at home and that's it. They've played and train against each other and that's it. And then you go out and play against opposition that get like all these indoor facilities, all these. Teams tour their areas and stuff. So we're very, we're underprepared, but we punch above our weight when we can. 100%. And that's what I love about these guys. They're just thankful with what they have. Some of the cricket bats and the gear, that's the other thing, is like, getting sponsored and things is big. And, when you play for Australia or New South Wales or Queensland, but, we don't get that, we get hand-me-downs, or we get, we get guys from opposition teams blessing us with gear, which is awesome. Yeah. But again, like, it's like, we make do with what we have, and we punch above our weight, and we just do. So, but like, making World Cups and winning games is huge for us as a whole, and to bring in sponsors and to bring in guys that want to bless us and buy gear for us or whatever. So, like I said, it's punching above our weight, but it's just making do with what you have. And these boys, man, like, you see some of the teams we've played against and the players we play against, and you're like, man, like, and like the boys, sometimes they'll have no idea who they're playing against, and I'm sitting there like, wigging out hard, like going like, man, look at this, we're playing against this guy. Do you know who you just got out? Like, and they're like, oh, no. We're like, it's cool. Like, it's all right. Oh. And I'm there losing my mind going like, man, you just got like an Australian player out and we don't know who he is. But it's like, it's just the naivety of it as well that makes it so cool. Like, it's just such a, it's a great environment. But
who would you say is the best player you've played with, and also the best player you've played against? And why they're the best player?
I think, I've been fortunate enough to grow up in Australia. So my age group is that age group that's sort of playing. They're playing in New South Wales, or they're playing Big Bash, or they're playing. So I've been very fortunate to play against a lot of really good players. I think playing with, there's a few. It's hard to
you can name a couple.
Well, it's hard to narrow it down, but like the guys that are like currently playing, like he bowled for Australia yesterday, Sean Abbott. Like I've played with and against Shawnee growing up, like same age group. Jordan Silk playing, like a lot of these guys playing in the Big Bash for this. Most of the Sixers boys are like kind of my crew, and then even like Chris Green, captain of the Thunder, like he's my teammate at my Sydney club. But like I don't like name dropping, because it's like well you play against them, it's like that's cool, but some of these guys are like such really good people as well. Played against Michael Clark a few times, which was awesome when he was still playing. So that was pretty cool, like, and a bit of an eye-opener. And Brett Lee and that, like I played a game with Brett Lee, bro. Like pretty cool, like and we're just thinking like obviously idolizing these guys and just going like, man, I'm out of my depth. But then you meet them and they're actually just normal. They're just people that love cricket. So it's like, that's the coolest part. But like playing in Brizzy, the Brizzy comp compared to Sydney is a lot closer knit. There's less teams. So there's 12 teams here and there's 20 in Sydney. So I've played like nearly 15 seasons of first grade in Sydney. So I've played against a lot of players, and seeing the competition sort of go level wise really strong to really not as strong. So I was seeing a lot of the young kids coming through now that are like, you know, doing really well too. So, but even like internationally, like with the boys, we've played games against like, we played a county team in England, Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And, man, they had like 3 test players playing, like Gary Balance, Tim Bresnan, like guys like this. And like our boys, we mixed it against them. We played really well against them. And like seeing them walk out and going, like, wow, that's like Liam Plunkett. Like he's played for England. Like, you know, these kind of guys. So it's been really cool, man. Like it's been a journey. It's like, it's been like I can, if I ever give the game away eventually, one day, hopefully. I don't know. Maybe I'll be that boo that's still playing, representing PNG under 60. Like, who knows? But hopefully I'll give the game away one day and go like I've had a good journey. You know, I've played against some cool players. So, yeah, man.
We were chatting briefly off air about your coaching element of you do coach the women's Sunshine Coast team. Yeah, how is that going for yourself? Been a good experience?
Buzzy, bro.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how I even ended up there. Like I do a lot of private coaching growing up back home in Central Coast. And I've got my, like, shout out to all my kids that I coach. Like, there's probably 10 or 12 of them that I do one-on-ones with back home. I say home, but now this is home, obviously, Queensland. But yeah, so I started and then so I got my level 2. I do my level 2 coaching. So I've coached teams before. And then I managed to get into the coaching space up here in the Sunshine Coast. They offered me a bit of work with up there. And then, I was coaching the second grade girls at the start of this season. And then got promoted to the head coach role of 2 grades now. So first and second grade. And man, they're so good. Like it's a different kettle of fish as far as like coaching wise. Like growing up coaching a lot of men's and young boys and stuff. So it's a different game and it's blowing up a lot. Like women's cricket has taken off. But just been blessed to get into that role as the head coach now of the women's stuff. And man, like the Scorchers setup is really cool. We've been really blessed with some good coaches around that help me and assist me. Thank God. But like the women's team that I'm coaching right now, they're doing really well at the moment. They're having a good season. And man, any advice I give is like minimal because they run themselves. And I'm just it's more player management and I'm learning how to player manage with the women as well. And it's, like I said, it's different cricket. It's it's one thing I learned is like, and I'm learning each week I'm learning something new with the women's game. But like, guys compared to women as far as cricket's concerned and coaching is like, we have to play well to feel good. Like we have to play well. Like if you have a good game, you'll feel good about yourself. You understand, Man, women's game, if they feel good, they'll play well. Like it's the other way around. It's completely like, so man, music is on, pumping and blocks. Like they're vibing, like if they're vibing high, man, they'll play well. But like boys, it's like, I have to warm up good to play. Have a good game today, or I have to, if I play well, then I'll get respect. Like it's such a flip, man, and it's cool. Like I'm loving it, man. I'm growing each week as a coach and. Hard lessons, like getting feedback from the bosses and stuff, but also getting good feedback from the players saying that Chad's doing really well. We're really enjoying playing under him. That's okay, cool. So I know I can do that.
Just not keen to hear about what you guys have planned coming up. What are the thoughts around the camp leading up to West Indies? Keen to hear your thoughts on that.
Pumped, bro. We're pumped. I was saying to my dad the other day, I just want to get on the plane. I just want to know that I'm on the plane because I think there's a squad of about 18 of us at the moment, trying to crack that final pick.
Is it 15? Does it go down to?
I think it'll be 15 or 16. I think. I don't know. I remember the previous one. I think going to that first one as well. That was like an eye opener, and it was like, man, like this is it. We're on the stage, let's enjoy, This time around, it's like, okay, let's actually put a result on and let's get our first win, like because we played 3 like prelim World Cup, so you had to win your pool or win a game in your pool to qualify to the Super 8s, which is the next one.
Yeah.
This one is like new format, man. Like 4 pools of 5 teams.
And they all play each other, hey?
Bro, we're playing India. We're not playing India. Who are we playing? West Indies and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Like there's like 2 big name teams in each pool now. Whereas like we'd have to play the associates to get into the World Cup. Now it's like we're in there. Like we're playing so we're going to play West Indies in West Indies, like the actual side, man. So I think the boys are like, they're pumped, man. Like they're pumped to go. We just got to, and that's part of the difficulties like with us is like since COVID time, our schedules has just been out the window. It's like, oh, you've got a tour in 3 weeks. Like you're going to play these teams. Okay, sweet. Well, I didn't know about that. Now it's like, okay, get ready for it. Now it's like, so we know June, July is the World Cup.
Yes, yeah.
So we've got like a planned tour coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We had a camp before Christmas as well. Boys came down for 20 days in Brizzy and we played against, we got to train with the Heat, Brisbane Heat, and the Queensland Bulls as well, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get something similar to going forward. And this next tour is going to be like, it's vital for the boys to get game time. I'm very, very blessed to be playing here in Brisbane, and Norman's down in Canberra playing in the ACT competition. And CJ got a bit of time in Melbourne. And Hiri and Jackie Boy are playing in Brisbane as well. So there's been a few boys coming down and playing, getting some game time, but it's vital for us to get out of the training blocks and actually play games, because there's something about match game, match fitness compared to playing and training against each other for 3 months, which is what they've done in the previous 5 years, that I've been involved. So I think going ahead is like we're in a good place. Head coach is a legend. Tatenda Taibu is the head coach. He played for Zimbabwe in the 2000s, and he's awesome. Communicates well. He's trying to get his visa sorted so he can go and coach up there and be around the boys, because at the moment it's like all about getting that sorted. So going forward is like if we can get on tour and get ready and prepare together, it's going to be the best, getting all the boys together. So man, the boys train hard, man. They work so hard. That's their 9 to 5 Monday to Friday jobs. So they're in there working hard. So man, I'm excited to see where they're going. And like I said, if I get an opportunity to get on the plane and go, then that's I know that I've earned my spot. So it's going to be good, man. Leading in, man, like I said, 4 pools, like.
Some big names too as well.
We were like, oh, we're going to go to Australia or England or India or something. And then we got New Zealand. I was like, damn it. I'm going to be playing against, like, it's going to be hard. Like, we're playing against my heroes.
The national anthem starts going on
I'll
there.
be singing both. I was listening to Amelia in the last, podcast when she played for Aussie against, PNG.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I'm going to feel if I do get an opportunity to play. I don't know how I'm going to feel, like, being able to, like, know both anthems and sit there, like, quietly.
You just have to close your mouth.
Honestly. So man, so cool,
bro. That's so good. And with your, like, you mentioned you obviously work part-time. You work full-time, sorry, and then juggling cricket with that. What are some of the things that you do to like keep yourself in line, and challenges that you try to overcome? Because obviously it's quite like you got to make sure you look after yourself off the field with trying to get an income for yourself. Because obviously cricket. It's not a full-time job in that sense, but you still do play professionally.
Yeah. It's like hard to say that it's professional. Like I'd say it's nearly semi-professional.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's not like league where you can play like club footy and still get paid a good amount, week to week.
Yeah.
Grade cricket in Brisbane is like you fund your own way. The club either blesses you and looks after you, or if you've got a good club or whatever. But like you said, it pays my rent. Like it's at the moment I'm very lucky to have work. Landed a job up on the sunny coast. Like I could say it's nearly my dream job. Honestly, working as a greenskeeper. So I have to keep the funds coming in, and I do my coaching and I do my greenskeeping work on the golf course there. So that keeps me going. But seeing the boys, we check in nearly every day. We check in. The Aussie-based ones, we have to check in on the WhatsApp and we say what we've done. So seeing the boys around the country, even in Pom, seeing them boys training in their videos and everything, man, that keeps me going, because it's like, well, okay, the boys have done this. What have I done today? Okay, I've got to get something. I've got to go for a run. Or I've got to do I've got to go and bowl my overs in the nets, or I've got to go and hit balls, which I'm very lucky. I'm around that a lot anyway. So I'm always training.
Yeah.
I'm at coaching. I'm coaching the girls Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
always
much-
in the nets.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you mind if you just, or I'll hang back for another half
Yeah.
hour and bowl by myself. So there's a lot of me time
Yeah.
on my own, doing my work and doing my training, but it's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's like, because I look and I see the WhatsApp and the boys have done their session today, and I'm like, okay, what have I done? Well, how can I bring my portion and make
Yeah.
sure I'm ready to go? So.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm very fortunate that I'm playing in Brisbane.
Yeah.
I'm playing a season, so
Yeah.
week to week I'm playing every weekend and getting challenged weekly.
No,
So
that's-
it's good, man.
No, that's so good. And with that being said, like for younger people coming through and aspiring cricketers, and I guess any sports person that might be listening to the podcast, what are some advice that you've learned yourself that you could share with them?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I think like not like resting on your laurels. Like you might have got wickets last week or whatever, and you might think, oh, like I did all right yesterday or whatever, and like, man, that doesn't matter. Like the next game is the one that matters. It's always about the next game. So just like understanding that the best players, if you really want to chase the next level, man, the best players train every day. They do 2 or 3 sessions a day. How many sessions? Like I remember my boss told me once. He said, "This is like my old job. When I was at back on the Central Coast." He turned to me and he said, like, how many sessions you done this week? And like I was like, oh, well, I'm training Tuesday and Thursday with my club team, He's like, so that's 2 sessions. So you know how many? And he said, you know how many Kobe Bryant does? And Kobe Bryant's pretty good basketball, yeah. And I was like, yeah. He said he does 3 a day. He gets up at 4, he trains, he goes to work, he trains lunchtime, he goes back to work, he trains in the night. How many sessions you done in one day? So if you go to club training, that's 1 session in that day. Kobe's 3 sessions ahead of you, bro. And I was like, he's like, do you even want it? You're going to a World Cup. Do you even want it? Like, what are you doing? He said, a session doesn't mean you go to the nets and bowl for 3 hours. He said, if you do half an hour of stretching, half an hour of running, half an hour of going for a swim to recover, that's a session. So how many are you doing a day? And then like when COVID hit and we were doing those like indoor, you can't leave your house, those ones. Man, I was doing like body weight workouts. I was doing like a half hour stretching, like, it was like it got me into gear, and I started recording what I was doing. Yeah. So now, like when I'm feeling low or I'm feeling flat, I pull out all those sessions that I was doing in that time, and I was like, I go back and I go, look, okay, I could do that, and and when I'm feeling flat, I'm like, well, this is what I was doing. What am I doing now? And I reflecting, journaling. I started really getting into journaling. That's so young kids, all the kids I coach, I teach them. I said, start journaling. Write down what you've done. Write down how you're feeling today. So tomorrow's a new day, and then what are you going to do tomorrow? And like write it down. Start doing it. So I mean, I'm very fortunate to coach kids in the age bracket of like 10 to like 20. Yeah. Very fortunate because I'm like, all right, this is a chance to mold them and shape them to become better each day. What have you done today? Tick it off, man. And you can go back and say when you're feeling low or even when you're feeling high and you're doing really well, you can go back and go, how did I get to, what was I doing at this time of my life to get to where I am right now? What was I doing? Well, I was stretching and I was hitting balls, and maybe I've got to go back to that and find my form again, or so I teach a lot of kids not to rest on those laurels, man, because really you're never there. You're never there.
There's always room for improvement.
Yeah, man. We're talking about golf before, bro. If that's the one, man. You hit a good drive, you're like, I'm Tiger Woods, but then But then you go back and you're like, man, I'm not there yet, eh? So it's just the biggest thing is my dad always said, you're not there yet, man. Wow. Like, are you done, or can you keep going? So I was like, all right.
I reckon that's a wonderful way to end the podcast, bro. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Listening to your stories, I know for myself, like just hearing the experience that you've gone through, like it paints a lot of pictures about, I guess challenges that we face, and like, going back in your connection to PNG too as well. So yeah, but really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, boys, honestly. And I really love what you guys are doing. Like I listened to the podcast, even like the previous one was awesome, man. Like hearing about Amelia's story, that sort of stuff. You get that background check on people and see where they come from, and I think that's really cool. And I've, even to just be able to share, probably everyone has probably tuned out half an hour ago listening to me talk, but no, I'm really proud to be from Papua New Guinea, and like the way you guys showcase our country, our beautiful people. I think that's awesome, man, and getting to show the world Like, because people,
Yeah,
you know, you never know who you reach out
Yeah.
to, and like, you know, people will come across this podcast.
Yeah.
So, man, like, our country is beautiful. I'm so
Yeah.
proud to be from PNG,
No.
and I claim it to the day I die. I still
Yes.
cry. You'll watch it. Hopefully, the camera's not on me in the anthems because
Yeah.
I cry every time.
Bro, Richard, I
I'm
will be
weak,
checking that.
man. I'm very proud of my motherland. So, yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
bro.
me, boys.
Cheers,
and
bro.
having
Thank
a-
you.
Thanks, man. Cheers.